editable,
Okay.
which makes it really nice.
Very nice.
So welcome, everybody. I would like to introduce you to the beautiful Jacqueline Robinson. Jackie, how are you today, sweetie?
I am well today. I've got a little bit of the sniffles and the allergy stuff, so don't mind that. But overall, I'm good. Things are moving as usual.
As usual, indeed. You've been making some big expansions in your service in the world. Can you tell us a little about those?
Yeah. It feels like it's ever evolving for me. It doesn't feel like I just settle into this is who I am, this is what I do. It shifts and moves as my life does, as my inner life does. Very much my inner life is the guide, the lead for my outer work. And so for a couple of years, really 3 years ago, big shift in my world from mother and wife for 27 years to this healer, this medicine woman, body worker, womb shaman, soul medium kind of work. So I did sacred touch body work. I still do, which is really beautiful. How it senses to me is it's like bringing temple practice into present time. When I am in the healing room, I feel it, Barbara. And I mean, you've been on my table, so you also know.
An amazing experience.
And I loved having you on my table. It was an amazing experience to put my hands on you. That's part of the work, what the body brings and how the body wants to express and be touched. It's about touching. My work really, whether it's hands on a body, distance work, shamanic work, my writing, working with the trees, it doesn't matter how I'm doing it, creating sacred space. It's about a touching what has been dormant, what is ready to be shifted and transmuted, what is ready to wake up and expand and come to life. It's an awful, not an awful, I was gonna say an awful lot. It's a beautiful lot of very high vibration mingled with deep love. So it's not like you're just getting up here and out of the body. You're bringing that down into the body, where she feels it and swims in it and loves it. And there's pleasure and beauty and sensuality and this feeling of being so alive. That is ultimately what my work is about.
That's awesome.
Yes, thank you. I love it.
As somebody who was out of her body, halfway out of her body for half her life, and then learned to get into her body, I have a deep appreciation for the fact that we came as spirits to be in a body. We want to be here. We want to have an earth suit that is the way that we engage with everything in this life on this planet. So how did you learn that for yourself?
Oh, I felt a piece as you were talking. Freya, the goddess Freya. So I have had goddesses show up in my chakras. And it's as though a different one shows up in each chakra and they're moving their way up. I've gotten to Gaia here in the third eye. I'm not sure who's going to arrive for that crown chakra when it's ready to be activated in that way. To answer, when you were speaking about being in the body and that we want to be in the body, we want to be in the flesh and the skin, immediately Freya showed up right here for me. This is the chakra that Freya decided to empower. And when Freya showed up, she had that very vibration, which was, I have had all of this. I'm a goddess. I've experienced, and Freya is a goddess of sexuality. So yes, I've experienced sexuality, and she traded an evening with those 4, I believe they called them dwarves. I believe that's what's in the myth. Those 4 dwarves to fashion her the Brisingamen necklace. And it was beautiful, made of amber. And she promised to them one night with each of them, because Freya is the goddess of sexuality as well as feminism and war and whatever other things. There's a whole plethora of them. But when she showed up, she wanted to be in my body. She basically said, yes, I've had all of that, but I want to feel it in a human body. I want to feel it in the flesh. I want to know what passion feels like, and skin on skin, and desire and touch and love, and feeling even with a partner, but also feeling just in the self alive. And I often sense Freya bareback riding on a horse, so wild and free. Freya's very wild and free energy. She's her own woman. And she wanted to experience that in a body. So that's part of how I've come to do it, especially recently, as these goddesses come in and they want to know how their vibration feels through a body. And it's my body, but it's also the feminine collective as well as the human collective.
Right.
It extends out.
Yes, because everything personal is also cosmic.
Yes.
We're a microcosm of every goddess in every mythology. They live right here in these little feminine bodies. Yes.
Very much so. Yes. And it's powerful to feel them in these feminine bodies and to feel how their essence feels when breathed to life through physical form, soul, heart, all of it together, mingled in. Give them breath that way. It's very powerful.
Very powerful. So if Freya came to your throat chakra, did you find that your voice got stronger and clearer?
Yes, definitely. And more it first was experiential, as though she just wanted to experience what it's like in here. And as she settled in, and Freya's also very connected to my work with the trees. You know, her home of Vanaheim is beautiful. It's luscious and green and gorgeous. And so as I continued to embody her and to drink her in, and she drank me in, and we became one essentially, I found that I would, you know, you mull something over and you know you want to talk about it, and you mull it over and you're going to have to speak and you want to get it the way you want to get it. And I found that began to shift away. And what would happen was the things that wanted to do this almost seemed to rise from within me and have, when it was time to speak them, even if they were roaming around, when it was time to speak them, they came with such clarity and presence rather than the uncertainty of speaking so freely. And it feels what wants to come through and how it comes through has entered a chamber of power that wasn't activated previously and still is activating. I would not say, okay, great, I've got it, my voice. It still continues to clear and expand and find new frequencies and new ways of coming through.
That's exciting. So did you, as the other goddesses came to each of your chakras, how did that impact your life and your sense of who you are in the world?
Woo, hugely, hugely. The first one I was so aware of in my body and energy field was almost 3 years ago now. And it was Kali, who I did not like. Kali drinks the blood. Her tongue is always out. She just kills. Gross. I don't want anything to do with that goddess. And then a woman in a temple practice actually said to me, you are the embodiment of Kali. And I was like, what? What do you mean I'm the embodiment of Kali? Whoa. And she shared with me the story of Kali and drinking the blood. And to make it very brief, it's the first time I understood that Kali is not just killing to kill. She's able to slay the demons. And when she drinks the blood, it's because Kali can transmute it. And if that touches the ground, it regenerates. But she can transmute it and create something new, to life, to the highest good. And so when Kali showed up, she showed up in my womb. And she's fierce about my womb. I learned that Kali is passion. Kali is not just destruction.
Right.
The destruction is born out of the passion and out of her ability to stay so true to the passionate truth she knows and to remove or shift or transmute what comes in the way. And Kali's message to me was, woman, get back in your own body. And that was born out of me being in a space of, in a connection of mine, going through bumps and being in a space of, well, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? What's happening? What's going on? I don't know what's happening. And Kali was basically, doesn't matter. It does not matter. Get in your own body. Get out of that field and come into your body. My body is where the passion is. I am a powerful transmuter, which allows me to do the work that I do. So much so that I now know my body well enough that when I'm transmuting, I can feel the energy at work. I can feel what it's doing. Kali brought me that.
That's a real gift. And I have known for a long time that Kali is very misunderstood by especially the Western world. She's death and rebirth, but she's all about creativity and support and being strong. So you've been learning to get more and more in your body all the time. Is this different than when you were growing up, when you were a young mother, a young wife?
Yes. Yes. Because of the nature of how deeply I feel and how passionate I am, growing up in a religious culture, and also some ancestral pieces that are in my line, impacted my body. Feels so much. It wasn't okay to feel that deeply. And so I had to keep quieting, leaving that feeling, getting out of it. It was wrong. And so I had to figure out how do I be okay then? And essentially quieted a lot of my body. And that's these last couple of years, she's coming alive and awake and so connected, and just this passion, this fire, this beauty that radiates out of her. I don't want to make her quiet. She's got a lot going on.
She does have a lot going on. And the image that comes to me when I see you as you are, as opposed to how you used to be, is that you're almost like a beautiful statue that was chained up, and you just flexed your muscles and all those chains popped and fell away. And now you're free.
Yes.
And increasingly free, because it is a process.
It is. There's that initial cracking free, though, that you're sensing into. That just, I'm done with this. And then it's as though you've done that, and what you have exposed then has all these little pieces that, because there was this shell on it, you didn't know they were there. And suddenly there you are with all of your pieces, and it takes time for those to evolve and move. And it's a beautiful process that sometimes is very challenging, but ultimately there's so much grace in it because it brings what we need.
One of the things that I always find to be comforting and fun is the notion that the process works us. We don't know really where we're going, what we're doing, but we feel what's happening. And when we surrender to it and collaborate with the process itself, it moves us towards our purpose for being here and towards our greatest joy in just being alive.
Yes, I experience that too, Barbara. And I find that surrender is the key, because we're so programmed and inclined to grab hold and drive it. And that's rarely the way we move until we've got that clear vision that comes through that feminine surrender, and we kind of get the marching orders for what's next intuitively, and then we bring the masculine in and do the driving. It's not the other way around. It's that surrender. That's probably the biggest piece in allowing what our true destiny and energy alignment is to unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think so too. So do you still experience days when you feel insecure and uncertain?
Yes, I do. I still have things that come, and I find it's I remember Carolyn Mace when I studied with her. There was something she said along the lines of, it's not about always staying at that center point. You're going to move as, you know, those reeds in the wind. It's about knowing how to come back to it and coming back to that place. And so I feel that interwoven with the reality that for those of us who are choosing to surrender into this work, which is consciousness, our interior life, and being guided by that. For those of us who are doing that, we still have the days when it's hard. You can't tell right now, but I had a morning of a lot of weepy tears because I had some things moving through. And I share that because I can share my work with you and also sit here and say, and I still am very human. I'm still a woman who has her own healing to do, and I'm doing it. It senses like it's layers. It's not the same stuff and you're doing it again. It's, oh my gosh, I just went through, I felt really insecure. I saw some new little pocket of myself I didn't know was there. And because I'm doing my work, she showed up and she's letting me see her now. And I love that she's letting me see her now. And so I'm going to love her up and give her what she needs. And then we continue on and we continue on the cycle and we come back around again and there's something new. So yes, I had some very hard days, just like all of humanity.
That we always do. And this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about in the Wisdom Council this evening. When you feel crappy, is your vibration different? What do you think?
I sense that it can be. And I sense that we're touching a different vibration when we feel crappy. That's my notion about it. It's not so much that your soul vibration changes. Your soul vibration is still pure and radiant and vibrant. How I sense it is when something of feeling crappy comes in, it's almost like a cloud coming over between the sun and us. And there's a shift. So the light changes.
Uh-huh.
The sun is still beautifully radiant. And the cloud comes through, some quickly, some slowly. And what the reflection is down here on this planet shifts with both of those.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
it's important for us to acknowledge our humanness, to be kind and gentle. So when you have those times, how do you nurture yourself through them?
Oh, I have sort of a toolkit that I pull from, and it's different in different times. Yesterday, I was feeling very under the weather, and the way that I responded to that with gentleness, because I needed gentleness. And yes, my vibration was different. I could not have gotten up and just allowed the channeling and the energy projection that naturally runs through me. My vibration was not there. And so I had just one client, and I knew it wouldn't be great energy coming through for that client, what I normally could bring. I rescheduled my client and I got in my bed for the day. And I haven't done that in a very long time. I don't get unwell very often. And so it felt incredibly honoring to feel crappy and just get in my bed. Just get in my bed and really feel crappy. Just feel crappy then.
Just surrender. Surrender to what is.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And I'll just share a couple other things. I have connections mostly with women. I have a few men, but I have a circle of women that when I feel crappy, they all have different energies and gifts and attributes, and there's usually one that I can touch somehow, and it just brings something different into the experience. I listen to music. I go outside. I walk with the trees. I pull cards. I ask questions. I sit with myself. I take a hot bath. Mm-hmm. I go for and sing really loud in the car because that's the best thing ever. I cry like a baby. I scream if I need to. Whatever it is, I just let it move and not judge it as best I'm able, which we are humans, so sometimes we do. I just let it move.
But this is beautiful what you're sharing. that there's this process. And when we don't suppress ourselves or our bodies and we just let it flow, then we can move through it more quickly.
Yes, and I find as well, as an added sort of booster amp, is when it's intense, and I feel intensely, hello Kali, when it comes through most intensely and there's emotion that is pushing it. First of all, I feel the emotion pushes it on purpose. It's not about I'm having an emotion. It's about I felt something enter my field and it had a reaction and touched emotion. And so the emotion is coming. The emotion will push it through so that what entered my field can shift how it needs to. And yes, it does move through. I find once it moves through and I've surrendered and given it space, there's this clarity that is sharp. It's as though it's heightened and amplified when you get on the other side. The amount of clarity, all of a sudden, like new portals have opened. When I surrender, let it move through, give it time and space, behind it is the true pure essence of what really has brought this to me.
Wow. So can you give us a more specific example of that?
Yeah, let me feel into if I can feel something very specific. Well, I would say for sure, I knew yesterday, the most recent, I knew yesterday not feeling well. Intuitively, energetically, physically, emotionally, all my bodies were very clear. I have nothing to give, stop, and get in the bed. And when I surrendered to that, and it wasn't bossy, it was my being communicating. And when I surrendered to that, I spent most of yesterday in the bed. Today, I'm feeling better for sure. And I knew yesterday morning, when illness comes to me that way, which is very rare, but when it does show up, it becomes a healing chamber. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm in a very sacred space and I will be different on the other side. And so even though I'm not fully out the other side, just from the rest yesterday and the surrender, and there's been a lot of emotion because it's not just illness, there's the whole, I've been feeling overnight and into today, and it took me some time to put it together. I work with codes and vibrations, and with the burning of Notre Dame yesterday, there's a lot of coding, feminine codes, priestess codes that are touched by that. And so I noticed myself feeling that. And there's an intertwining of it all with what I've been experiencing personally and that event happening. Coming through on the other side today, for where I am at present, it has already brought a different clarity, a different vision, and ability to see into myself and my work, and also how that is touches and is touched by what's going on in the world. Clarity.
Because we are channels of light. So we are beacons who ripple out our vibration all around the world, which is another reason it's so wonderful for us to be able to connect around the world here on the internet, to have these conversations, because then we feel more cohesive.
Yes. Yes.
Do you sometimes have the sensation that your body is being worked on by ascended masters who are helping you emerge?
100%. 100%. I feel, especially goddesses in my being, I feel that when I go to sleep at night, for me, that's a time that I sense energetic alignments are happening, codes are getting turned on 100%. And I have other ones besides the goddesses, but they are very strong for me, for sure. Yes.
So when did you start feeling these things? Is it a recent thing? Is it since 2012? Is it more recent than that?
I would say intensely since I connected with a community in the last 3 years. However, it really began for me in a real charged way in 2005 when I studied mysticism with Carolyn Mace.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She was incredible. And it was her first time teaching it. And so it was during the first session that we were with her that Teresa of Avila, literally her energy joined Carolyn on stage, and the whole course shifted to studying Entering the Castle, or the Interior Castle, which is Teresa's book. And so I went through that year of working with the soul. I mean, that work was all about the soul and the interior castle and the mansions and what's in this room. And what if you open this room where you haven't forgiven? And what if you open this room where what lives in there are your gifts you don't know you have? And we journeyed through those rooms, and it certainly rocked my world. A year later, I went to Chartres, France, and studied at the Chartres Cathedral. Also rocked my world.
Wow.
They quieted in between there. I did family, I did some women's groups, I did some things. 3 years ago, everything opened up and turned on. And I come through that thread because it circles back to 2005 with Carolyn. I studied mysticism with Carolyn. I fell in love. I opened places that really were frightening for me at the time. I now live the life that I learned about and studied and dreamed of and knew lived in me all those years ago. I'm now living it. I'm living life as a mystic and a healer and a womb shaman and a medicine woman and just a nature lover. It doesn't matter what the labels are. I'm living this life so intricately woven with life, all forms of life, you know, just constantly in a communion with that in one way or another. And I love it. I love feeling the things, even the things that are crappy. I wouldn't turn those off to do this, because it would turn off other parts also. All of it just goes in there and transmutes and becomes this new evolution that keeps moving. And I love it.
And will continue to move. And that connection that you're describing with the divine is what gives us such joy, gives us fulfillment, gives us guidance to the next step. It's the thing that makes it worth being a spirit in a body.
Very much so. Very much so. I feel it connected to the human understanding of pleasure. And when I lean into that, when I work with clients and we talk about that, you can almost feel the pull away that we've grown in this culture that pleasure is desired and judged.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
Ultimately, pleasure is a frequency of divine ecstasy. And if we can begin to enter that space of pleasure and really give ourselves to it, start with one cell, something that you love that you're doing, whether you're making love, whether you're walking barefoot on the earth or cooking or whatever brings you joy, painting, singing. Find the frequency, find the vibration, the sensation in one cell and how much joy and pleasure is right there. And really give all your energy to feeling the fullness of that pleasure. You can keep it just one cell, but then start to expand it. If that one cell is right here, start to feel it here. And then begin to feel it here. And then let it yourself feel it here. And feel it everywhere. And just feel it wash over you. And all of a sudden, you're in ecstasy. Just like that.
I'm pausing. So one of the things that we've been talking about in the Good Vibe Challenge is the sensations we experience when, for example, we're meditating and we start in 3D and then we move up to the 5th dimension or the 6th or the 7th. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, I can speak to that. I myself am not aware of the shift between 6th, 7th, 8th. I feel myself when I enter that space completely surrender. And it feels as though, I was going to say I'm taken, but not taken in a way that I'm taken away, taken in a way that it's enrapturing. I'm taken to definitely those higher dimensions, because I know how to touch them. And I go there, it's almost as though when I go there in that space, I'm touching something and bringing it here and integrating it,
Mm-hmm.
which allows us then to bring that to this planet. So definitely, yes, I go somewhere else. I can't tell you which dimension or what it's like. I'm not attuned